3 months later, after my discharge, I enrolled in a small college. In order to cope as a student, I took afternoon naps many days, studied harder than I'd ever done before, and concentrated on taking good notes in class and understanding what I read. I knew I was different. Before I could remember, I could learn the 12 groups of insects and all of their characteristics in an hour, and take a test, okay? It wasn't like that anymore. I had to study really hard, and I found that my attention was waning. I couldn't pay attention in class, so I sat in the front, like in the front seat, so no one would distract me, okay? So these were compensations I used even then. And then I made the effort to repeat every word the lecturer said in my head. I would just, when I found my attention waning, I would just do it, once upon a time, I would say once upon a time, okay? So I earned straight A's and went on to university. I graduated from university with 3.99 grade point average, summa cum laude, in biology. Chemistry, it was a BA in chemistry with a minor in biology. I was not the perfect student. I did fail some tests, but somehow they either dropped the lowest test or my final score was so high above everybody else that somehow I always got my A. And my friends would say, it's like you're blessed. All these terrible things happen, but, and I do, I do believe, I'm a Christian, I do believe God did bless me. But it was also hard work. I got top scores on my medical college admissions test and received a full scholarship to combine MD PhD program. When I interviewed, I said nothing about my head injury, okay? Because to me it was a non-issue. I had tested myself, and things were a bit different, but apparently all these good grades, how can I say I have a permanent head injury? Anyway, 8 years later, I graduated with both degrees. Actually, what I'd like to say is in 8 years, I got my MRS degree, my MOM degree times 3, mom, okay, PhD and MD. So I was like Superwoman. Not that things didn't go wrong. I had some major glitches. When I took my oral comprehensive exams, I failed my first time around. My written ones were fine. Written's fine. Oral, I don't get. So my written presentations are a lot better than my oral, as you can already tell. Okay. Getting back to my sheet. When I defended my doctoral thesis, my mentor said, you deserved honors for your research, but I did not demonstrate it. After I presented my thesis, to everybody in the room, all the students went out and the PhDs are left to test you, and it's called a defense. Well, I was confused. My mentor had not oriented me, and the question seemed so easy. And I was like, well, I have to take that to my defense. I was defending my research, and anyway, my mentor said, you just didn't cut it. He couldn't understand, and things like that would happen. People say, you're so smart, why do you have trouble with that? Okay, no one ever picked up that had anything to do with a head injury. And I didn't want to talk about it. People notice the scars. Oh yeah, I've had a head injury, I had an accident. But I didn't really, it wasn't an issue. As exceptional as I was in academic work, so after I actually got the PhD, I'd done 2 years of med school, PhD, and then last 2 years of med school. Those last 2 years did not go that well. That's where things really started to kind of tank for me. I could not handle working over, because you have to work every third night, you're working 24 hours. And I couldn't function the next day. I did, but I would still be writing my notes, 10 o'clock at night sometimes in the morning. So that meant I had worked 36 hours. Okay. And because I could not think the day after. Anyway, I was criticized for disorganization in presenting cases orally. My first attending was met with me 2 weeks through and said, I know you're smart. When I ask you a direct question, you know the answer, but your presentation is completely disorganized. And so, but we went through a patient that morning. By the end, I was fine. So that's my pattern. I have trouble at the beginning, but at the end, I'm okay. Now, the reason I came here is because it stopped happening. Okay. got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. Anyway, I went, after I finished med school, my husband and I moved to Australia. He's Australian. And I went to an internship and quit after 8 months. I suffered a nervous breakdown from working nights and also having to take steroids for really bad allergies. And I had 3 small children. I just sat out. And I thought I was completely washed out. My husband and I moved back to America 3 years later. My husband said, I want you to try again. In a residency that doesn't require working nights. And the only one that I knew about at the time, actually it's probably the only one, is pathology. And pathologists are doctors who specialize in the diagnosis of cancer. Radiologist sees the lesion, the surgeon says, oh, that could be cancer, but I need a biopsy before I can do surgery. So the radiologist obtains a biopsy. I look at it and say it's cancer, okay? You know, where is it from? Where's it coming from? You know, what can you use? What medicines can you use? I mean, those are the questions that I deal with, okay? Anyway, at the time, I did not want to be a lab doctor. Never had it in mind. I wanted to be a neurologist. I wanted to work with people with head injury because I had escaped unscathed. Okay? And I just, you know, God's hand of blessing was on me. But I wanted to be there for people who didn't have that benefit. See, that was my opinion of myself. But I wasn't, it was not exactly accurate. Anyway, that first year I was a resident. On my first autopsy month, my attending said in his evaluation, Dr. Romanis can never hope to have a career in anatomical pathology because of executive dysfunction she suffered in her accident. Okay, and everybody kind of laughed, you know, because I was so smart, you know, and I was doing well otherwise. But autopsies are really hard to keep track of everything. And anyway, he saw it. I didn't believe it. Nobody believed it. But that's exactly what I have. I have dysexecutive syndrome. And but anyway, by the end, I was also criticized for being too slow that first year. But by the end of the program, again, I ended up chief resident, and I got the only fellowship spot in my program. Now the transition to working. Okay. I had trouble. I had 2 half-time jobs. One at the KU where I trained, and half-time at a reference lab, a nationwide reference lab. And I got fired after 3 weeks from the reference lab. I was doing fine at KU, but the reference lab fired me. And they said I was too slow. They said, we like you, you do good work, but you can't do all the cases, you know. They wanted me to do 80 cases a day. They never gave me 80 cases a day. And they fired me. And I was like, I am better than this. I can do this. And so I asked to stay to the end of my severance period, and she rehired me. And you know, we both knew it wasn't the right long-term position, but you know, she says this never happened. She paid back my malpractice. The only people who know are about whoever I say. It didn't actually happen, according to her. So, but I didn't disclose my head injury because I lost a job offer because I disclosed it. So once I disclosed it, she kind of got some, you know, insight. Anyway, I've worked as a full-time pathologist now for 7 years, and I've been at my present job at the VA for 6. They knew when they hired me that I had a head injury. I had done 9 months of my training there. So they knew that it was a little bit different, but they were, you know, they chose me. 70 people applied, I was able to win interview, and I got the job. But the first few years went fine, but the last 3 years, things have kind of started to go downhill for me. You know, at the same time, it's because of, you know, when you're a resident, you do all the physical work and you write the diagnosis and you write the reports, but it's not your name on the dotted line. You know, but when it's your name on the dotted line, you got to have really good executive function, you know, to make sure you get it right. And I guess there was this always, am I right, you know. Yeah, because just in everyday life, I would make so many little mistakes, clumsy, you know. I mean, my husband, you know, my kids and my husband, they see these little mistakes I make all the time, and they think my kids say I'm stupid. My kids have called me an idiot, okay? And I think it's because, you know, they've missed me, you know, and by the time I come home, I have nothing more to give. And, you know, they're older, you know, and they're working through with all that. The older two are fine. I mean, just the youngest one, we're still working on that. But anyway, I still, at March this year, after having had no time off for 6 months, okay, not a single holiday, I got Thanksgiving and Christmas, but every day I planned to take vacation, I couldn't take it. And I was working more and more hours every month. And, anyway, I came to the end of my rope. And I was like, I cannot stay here for 20 more years. I can get the job done, but there's not a life. I was like a workhorse, occupied. Larry and I talked about. The only thing I did relatively well was my work. No one ever had a complaint about the quality of my work. But because I was so stressed and so discouraged, my brain just kept on working slower and slower and slower. And by the end, my boss was really unhappy with me. Not because of the quality again, but because the reports were coming out too late. And in order to come here, and Larry said, I think I can help you. No guarantees, but I think I can help you. And I packed up my bags and basically, and so the agreement is with my boss that I'm going to come back home, work through the summer, employ all my, compensatory strategies. Larry says I need to groove through the summer. Okay, and I think I can do it. I actually think I can do it. And I think by the end of the summer, my boss is going to be really happy. Last year I got outstanding for clinical competence. There's no reason I can't do it again. And now that I think that I'll be able to go home after 10 hours of work, not after 12 or 13 or 14 or 16 or even 23, which I start 20 hours I worked last fall when I wanted to go on vacation. In order to finish up my work before I left, I worked 20 hours straight. Even the day that I came, I worked, from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 in the morning, came home, packed, half an hour, went to the airport and came. Yeah, I didn't have any room in my life to be me. I didn't have any room in my life to take a vacation. It was like a punishment to take a vacation. I'm sorry, I'm getting very verbose, right? Very verbose. Okay, sorry. All right, so let me get back to my thing. So, anyway, going back to, when I started to get insight, it was at the very end of med school I came across a chapter on long-term consequences of head injury. And, this is me, problem with oral examinations, not being able to find the right word, in oral speech and talking too much to get to the right word. Problem solving under time, whatever, especially oral pressure. And I was like, I think I have a head injury. I think actually, I had a head injury, but I think I actually have some permanent deficits. My husband, my parents, my friends, my doctor all said, no, this is not possible. You could have done what you've done. Because in their mind, brain injury makes you stupid. And it's not true. Renee and I were both witness to that. It just means that our brains don't function the same, and we need to learn how to drive them correctly. And no one can teach us that except people who are very specialized in the field, like Dr. Schutz. And I tell you, I researched, I went to Mayo Clinic last summer, and they did not offer me anything like what he offered, okay? They basically said, go back home, work with a speech-language pathologist, but that wasn't helping. It actually made things worse. Because I was trying to make time to make these appointments, and I had less time for my work. So I needed to take the time off to devote to this. Despite the fact this, putting my family, a little bit of difficulty. We'll get through it. It's not a problem. So anyway, at the last month of going back to the last month of med school, finally I was on neurosurgery. All the head injury patients were going to specific rehab physician. I made an appointment with him. I said, do I have a head injury? Do I have permanent? It's not possible. He said, it's not possible for you not to have had permanent deficits. But you've compensated so well, there's nothing we can do for you. Okay? So anytime I asked for help in Kansas City or even at Mayo Clinic, they said, their evaluation was that I'm trying to do an 8-cylinder job with 6 cylinders firing. And that I may only be able to do that for so long. And they encouraged me to find another job, maybe not change career, but a part-time job or something like that. But I've been at the VA 6 years, and I got outstanding. I wanted to get my retirement, and I had a great group of colleagues. And why would I leave to go to a strange place when I always have trouble with transitions? But what Larry's taught me is I'm not afraid of transitions anymore. I came out here, I took care of all my business, For a long time, my husband's been taking care of everything at home. Not letting me cook, not letting me clean, not letting me wash my own clothes, because I was so tired. And so I was able to do all that here. Actually, at the beginning, I was like, how am I going to do it all? And then he kept loading all this work on me. And every week it got worse. Nothing is easy. And even like last week, I looked at the homework assignments for the remaining 2 weeks. It's like, it's just 1 or 2 weeks. And then he loads more and more and more on me. And it's like, okay. But anyway, he says, I have great confidence that you can do this. And I did. I did, not perfectly. I didn't get everything done exactly right. But he said, I want you to learn how to do things in a half-assed manner. So I never used the word half-assed in my life, but and my kids will be shocked when I go home, okay? Because I'm a perfectionist, and that's part of the problem. I get in this tunnel, and I can't see my way out of it. Okay, so, kind of summarizing this rest. What did I learn? I learned that I created a very difficult lifestyle for myself. I've already described that for you. I had the 3, the problems with the kids. One had suicidal depression, the other one, there was drawing boundaries and stuff. There was a scuffle and almost like an altercation, and a third one calling me all these names. It's not been easy, that hurt. That I realized is compromising my work, Maybe if that didn't happen, maybe I'd be still fine at work, But the kids have their needs too, And even though they were older, they still needed some attention from their mom. And they weren't getting it. So basically, my plan is to work through the summer. If I can come home, work 8 to 6, and come home and have something for my family and for me, then I will stay, at the VA for some time. But I am considering going on to do some more training. It's hard to think about starting a residency again, But, if I could do something for, lots of people, I think I have a unique kind of voice, and my story is kind of unique. And if it can be used for the greater good, maybe it'll make all this suffering worthwhile. I'm going to skip ahead. Okay, so basically for 29 years, since my injury, I've tried to fake being normal. I thought, it was kind of normal, but with a few glitches. But what I actually found out with what he was showing me is that, after exercise after exercise after exercise, I was scoring in the lowest percentile. This one particular exercise particularly, which is watching a TV program and predicting how it's going to end. Well, guess what? To a teenage boy, that sort of thing proves that you're never stupid. Okay? And I can't do it. I still have not made much progress on that. But we're going to work on it. We're going to work on it. Yeah, halfway, okay. Anyway, but my brain is not normal, and it will never will be. But it's still a good brain. So I needed to learn to use this abnormal brain properly. I needed to learn to drive it differently, And what Larry taught me is I can use my conscious mind to drive this car correctly, okay? For you, remember when you learned to drive? How you're paying attention to the mirror, to everything. You're paying conscious attention to every little bit to get it right. But after a while, it's just like, it's automatic. You go from here to there, and you're like, oh, I don't remember even getting there, But for me, for Nick, for Renee, for Evelyn, Jeffrey, okay, we cannot do that. When we try to do that, when we try to live our lives like normal people, use our brains like normal people, we misfire and we make mistakes. And sometimes really bad ones. Impulsivity is one of the major hallmarks of head injury. And my kids said my youngest son says, you're so impulsive. I'm like, how could you say that about You know, I never thought of myself as impulsive, but I am. I had to learn that about myself. I'm so impulsive. So I've got to, when I go into a new situation, what Larry's teaching me is, new situation, stop and think. Okay? You've heard all this before. Stop and think. Hard task or easy task. Okay? The things that make it a hard task for me are not necessarily make it a hard task for you. If it's got a lot of steps, if it's something I've not seen before, if there's some sort of danger involved, or it's very, very important, I've got to say, okay, I've got to drive my car very deliberately here. Okay? Impulsivity is not going to help here. Okay? And so make it, power up. You're supposed to power up. When you identify past this heart, you power up. It's like, okay, I've got to get this right. Right? I've got to get this right. And make a plan and proceed slowly and carefully, watching yourself. And I have trouble with that. Because I have trouble with putting my attention on something, and you need part of your attention to actually watch what you're doing. So that an hour doesn't go by and you haven't made progress on the case. I can be working on a case for an hour or thinking really, really hard. Hour passes by, I'm like, oh, where'd the time go? Because I'm not watching myself. My brain lost that ability to do so. Okay, so, the kinds of mistakes that Nick or Renee or I make or Jeffrey look like the same mistakes everybody else makes. People say, oh, that happens to me all the time. I say, you may have a few scratches on your sleeve. I have hundreds and thousands on mine. Okay, right? And so we're not normal people, and we need to teach the people around us that, we are not normal people. And I'm going way too far, I'm sorry. I have no idea how much time I've spoken. So I have to make my brain, okay, my symptoms look like ordinary errors, but they happen at times and places I never would have allowed a mistake to occur before my injury, and they occur far too often. I can't just set my brain loose on a problem. I have to use my conscious mind to help my brain work right. The quality control system is not connected to what you do, okay, for us. Okay, and I have to make my brain get organized, become careful, and proceed one step at a time. If I don't make the special effort, mistakes are inevitable. And Larry showed that to me time after time after time. Okay, I'm not done learning. I think that if I had not come here, I would still be working like a mule, and staying at the VA because I feel like I can't go and do anything else. At least here they accept me, they like me, and they trust me. Really, they do. They just have problems with my turnaround time sometimes. And but now I believe things are going to change. And for the first time, I have hope for a future that would be fulfilling. I'm hoping for repaired relationships with my sons, for my husband to have a wife again, and for my friends to be able to count on me, So anyway, that's what this program has given me. I believe that by following these strategies, I have already started to get back my life. I could not have imagined I could have put this together, and because we were doing it every week. We were doing it every week. Every week we had to prepare a lunch that was separate. It was more complicated than the week before, and I was doing it out of a hotel. Okay, so yeah, it happened. Yeah, I was late. Yeah, I was sweating all over the place, but it happened. Okay, so I'm not done learning. I still need to fine-tune many of my strategies, and there'll be situations in the future that I'll have to learn how to handle. But I think I now have the equipment to do so. I have the right tools in my toolbox. And I have, I've gone from being a very discouraged normal person who felt constantly inadequate, both at work and at home. Not that my husband did, but, whatever. But I'm a brain damaged person who's done some pretty amazing things. And I thank you guys all for helping me to see that. Every one of you has helped me to see that. Sorry, I'm almost afraid to go back to Kansas City because I don't want to feel inadequate again. But I think it's going to be better. I believe it's going to be better. It has to get better because I now am a different person, I believe. Hopefully. My strategies will be able to, will equip me to do even more amazing things. I would like to thank everybody, especially Renee and Nick and Evelyn, who were they were my therapy partners many times. Judy sat also yesterday, and Dawn once, and Doreen once, and everybody at Give Back for listening to my presentations. That really helped me learn, because you got to see one, do one, teach one, in order to really learn. I would like, especially to Renee. Renee, you're awesome. You know, you're a very strong woman, and I cannot imagine having the guts to do what you're doing. And, you know, I'm really worried about you, you know, but, you know, I believe that you will find some way to make it, and you will learn what you need to learn to do what you need to do for your voice. Nick, wow, you know, thank you for your friendship, and I've really enjoyed. One time he took me for one of my homework things, and it felt like I was on a date. He was just so suave. 17 years younger, you know. I was like, I felt like a cougar, you know. Anyway, and I played this video game that my kids would be horrified to see me play a first-person shooter, and Nick said I did really well. So you guys all made me feel special at a time when I really needed to feel better about myself. Especially thank Dr. Schutz for his compassion and enthusiasm for equipping people with brain injuries to recover, not to just to survive or exist. I believe his program is, there are some programs that do it, but typically a year of work and thousands of dollars. 3 days at me last summer was $8,000 out of my pocket. Okay, but really it's a bargain. It was expensive, but it was a bargain. Too often people with brain injuries live empty lives because they do not know how to run their brains. Larry joyfully extends himself to do all that is possible for us. He's somewhere between a teddy bear, a father, and a tyrant. He knows how to tell you the difficult truths you need to hear without crushing. He tells you the difficult truths you need to hear without crushing your spirit in the process. I will always be grateful. I feel like he's probably one of my best friends. I mean, maybe probably my very best friend I've ever had in my whole life. Who knows? As far as helping me, everybody else can give you comfort, but really helping you, coming alongside you and helping you, my husband first, of course, but Larry is a very close second. My husband's been helping me recover for 23 years. He enjoys, believe it or not, living with this brain injured lady. The mistakes I make and whatever, he never criticizes me. He always just kind of laughs and chuckles, and that's my arena, And I can always rely on his kindness and unconditional love. And I would like to thank God for giving me so many gifts, for directing my path, and even allowing me to have this head injury. My husband doesn't. Okay. But I do think I'm a better person for having gone through this struggle. As Job said, referring to God, he knows the way that I take, and when he has tried me, I shall come forth as gold. So I hope that gold starts showing through. Thank you.
As these two amazing ladies have demonstrated, recovery is partly about dedication, it's partly about guts, it's partly about learning what you need to know, but it's also about passion. And these two ladies have the passion to make themselves recover. I want to thank you all for being patient while we did some teaching tonight, but now I want to turn the podium over to you guys so that anyone who would like to congratulate the graduates can have an opportunity to do so in front of this body. So please feel free.
Thank you, Dr. Dr. Schutz, I appreciate that. And I've been fortunate enough that I've been with Renee when we've gone to class together. Renee and I are kind of kindred spirits. We probably had our brain injury within a couple of weeks apart. Christy?
About the beginning, I think.
Oh, yeah, which is amazing. Mine was more of an injury. Hers was obviously an aneurysm. But, you know, I was blessed in that I had terrific care. I mean, I can't say enough about it. And after hearing what you went through, Renee, and what you did, Maria, and I would like to consider you a kindred spirit as well, since we've gone through the same type of thing. But I had remarkable care. Okay, I'm not sure that you guys, and I commend you, Maria, for realizing, and you too, Renee, realizing that things just weren't right. I mean, I had my injury, I had the best of care, so it was just kind of a stepping stone for me. You guys have had a harder recovery, and you've had to realize it yourself, and that is absolutely, positively huge. And one thing I want to tell you, and you kind of referred to it a little bit earlier, Maria, but people don't realize, they see us, as you said before, they see it as normal. You expect me to. You know what? There is no one recovery for any person. It is individualized. It is something that you have to go through yourself. You have to deal with yourself, and there is not 6 months, there is not 1 year, there is not a 2-year recovery period. Okay, and I want all you folks that have not, you know, gone through something like this, the folks that have obviously know what I'm talking about here, but I'm telling you straight out, you just don't realize what you have to go through and what people don't understand what you're going through, and they expect you to be the same person, but there is not a recovery period, and it's not flicking on a light switch. Okay, you just have to go through it. And I guess for the folks here that haven't experienced it firsthand, you need to be supportive of the people that have had these injuries. Okay, they cannot do it themselves. Okay, and I'm telling you straight out that there is a learning curve, not just for us as recovering patients, but for people in our lives as well. And again, I can't say enough about what you've done, Renee, and obviously what you've done as well, Maria. You know, I can tell you that, in my opinion, it's 2 things. Number 1, that God is important in our lives. Okay. Number 2, it's the drive that we show to get better. Okay. And as far as that goes, you 2 ladies are absolutely phenomenal. I want you to tell you from both myself and Christy Renee that we love you very much, and we wish you nothing but the best. Same to you, Maria.
Hi, I'm Julie. Her name's Fred. And Dr. Schutz, when I met him the first time, I came with Renee, and she said, "Oh, you gotta go to this meeting with me. You gotta go." And I met Dr. Schutz, and I think I did a lot of the talking. It is surprising. If you know me, I talk. But I could just see the spark in Renee's eyes the second Dr. Schutz started talking about all this stuff, and I just kept going, "That's Renee. Well, that's her family. Well, that's her." And I mean, I just couldn't get it out of my mind. I just couldn't get it out of my mind. And I'm just going to take a quick note and just say how proud I am of you guys, because it is a difficult situation. I can't even imagine. I can't even fathom what you guys have been through. Renee, I can't even tell you how proud I am of you. And I know all of us, we are a tight group of girls, and I'm just so proud of you because I know it hasn't been easy. Okay, Ken, you're part of it too. And Ken. But, you know, we are always here for Renee, and doing what she did just was incredibly difficult. And I praise her as much as I can, and I'm constantly trying to give her inspiration. And even when we don't talk, she's in my heart all the time, and I'm so proud of you. So keep going, girl.
it was 2007, we worked together designing and selling swimming pools. Who would think, right? Swimming pools, and the world just economy crashed a little bit, but we stayed in touch a little bit, and then she disappeared, kind of just off the radar. Just like, got married, whatever, moved. But eventually, I think I even called you on your birthday, 2009, somewhere in there. She answered, wow, you're still there, cool. And then you told me what happened, and I was like, wow, it's gnarly. I mean, I can't grasp what that represents, because we all kind of, I say, live in our brains, and when our brains change, which they kind of do anyways as we go through life and different things, but I'm just really thankful that, you know, you've come to this place, that you are working on some insane stuff, and even to hear you, Maria, just today, it's just hit my heart. I know God has things for us that we don't understand regularly, and I think the willingness that I heard with both of you to just step out and kind of trust the process, that it's not going to be easy. You know, life isn't easy anyways, and then you get a brain injury of some form, and it's, my friend Trey, that I've told you a lot about, has had 7 strokes, Binswanger's, which I've never heard of before. There's many different types of brain injuries, and I don't think he can come to this place. I don't know enough, but I feel my heart and compassion to engage him as I can. The responsibility I think we have to each other is to be involved in each other's lives as we can. We can't do everything for everyone, but the people whose lives we can touch, I think it's my responsibility to encourage you and, you know, spend time with the boys, and hearing you, Maria, you know, getting back to your...
Can I tell you what it's like to be a mother, of a brain injured mother?
Of course.
You tell the boys they do something, and you give them a consequence. All they have to do is be cute, and you're completely forgotten.
It's like that, right?
They manipulate you, and you